Hey guys, I've been wanting to do this video for a very long time, never really had the chance, but here it is now. It's about collecting factory sealed games. I know this is a rather controversial subject because a lot of people have a hard time understanding why some collectors do that. I also know that a lot of YouTubers have done similar videos about this subject, but I want to tell my own opinion and try to explain why I have many factory sealed games in my collection. I have seen a lot of people, even collectors, talking a lot of bad stuff about collectors who keep their copies in factory sealed condition, and I think that is sad. That is sad because I think we should respect each other more. Respect is something that is lacking a lot from our current society, and we also have a lot of things in common. We all enjoy video games, and we all start out as gamers. We don't start collecting out of the blue, okay? So, the same way we should respect each other because we have some things in common, we should also respect each other for the differences. And for that reason, I ask you to please be moderate in the comments, alright? Don't be rude, don't be offensive to other collectors. I appreciate that, thank you very much. I totally understand why some people think it is stupid to buy and keep games in factory sealed condition, or even buy games that you never intend to play, because the games are worth for their experience. They are way more than just a box or an instruction manual. You don't really experience a game unless you really play it. I believe that in order for you to collect anything, whatever it is, you need to like what you're doing, alright? You seriously cannot expect that those YouTubers who have those amazing collections, not just video games but other stuff like action figures, etc, etc, they do reviews and unboxings. They did not start out of the blue just for the fame, alright? They have those amazing collections because they really enjoyed what they were doing. And that's really important, alright? So, I'm gonna start by briefly telling you my story of how I became a collector. And like everyone else, I started out as a gamer when I was a kid, because I really enjoyed to play video games. And I didn't really have much money to spend on video games. I could only buy a few titles every year, and I had to make some really tough decisions because I had to choose one title between several games that I'd really like to play. And since I grew up with video games, the older I was, the more money available I had to spend on games, and my collection eventually started to grow. It was still small compared to what I have today, but it was already reasonable. And one thing that I really enjoyed to do was to take very good care of my games, because they were that important. They were hard to buy. I had to make efforts in order to be able to save enough money to buy one game. Sometimes it would take me months until I could have enough money to buy that particular title I was expecting to buy for a long time, and I really took very good care of my games. One day, a friend of mine borrowed a copy of, I believe it was Street Fighter X plus Alpha 2 for the original PlayStation system. And a couple of months later, when he returned the game, I've noticed the disc was in a horrible condition, full of scratches, and I was very upset and unhappy with the situation. Even though I had very little money, I've still decided to buy a second copy of the game, so I went to the store, I picked up a factory sealed copy, and I still opened the copy, even though I never really played the game again. The truth is that I realized that I really cared about the condition of my games, and I started to look back at my older games. Most of them were in pretty good shape, but they were not perfect, and I've considered buying some of them again just to have them in the best perfect condition, and that was factory sealed. And that's finally when I started to consider keeping some of my games in factory sealed condition. But it did not start there. My collection and the amount of factory sealed games I have did not start just from that. As I grew older, I eventually became an adult, I got a job, and I had more money to spend on video games, but I had less time to play. But I was still very interested in buying, and I was still very interested in being able to play games. So I've bought plenty of games that I never really had the time to play like I expected, and I kept them sealed, waiting for the moment where I would play them. The thing is, that moment sometimes never came. So, when I finally become more of a collector and less of a gamer, I had two main concerns with my collection. The first was to get the titles that I really wanted, and for that I made wish lists and tried to find the best deals for them. The second concern was to actually get them in the best possible condition, and this meant sacrificing even some rare games that I found just because they were not in the condition that I really wanted to have them. My main priority was to get what I wanted in the best possible condition, and there's no best possible condition for a game than a factory sealed copy. And this is where it all started. But just because I prefer to buy factory sealed copies, this does not mean that I don't buy used copies as well. I usually try to find the best deal for the games I want to buy. If I find a factory sealed copy that's slightly more expensive than a used copy, I take it. But if the difference is too big and the copy I'm looking for I can find it in mint condition but not sealed, I take obviously the cheaper option. Unless of course it's for a game that I really want to have in factory sealed condition, but those are just a few rare cases, it's not a general condition for my collection. I'll also admit that if I had some more money, I would go a little bit deeper into collecting factory sealed games, but I would never go as far as submitting the game to certain companies and agencies like VGA that do those ratings. That's one thing that I would not get into. It's just my personal opinion, I don't really trust that kind of system. I think that's an exaggeration, but I respect those collectors who do that. I really don't blame them. So basically, I really enjoy to collect video games, and I collect them the way I like the most and the way I can. You don't really need a scientific explanation to explain why people collect stuff. They do it most of the times is because they really enjoy what they're doing. And this is it, guys. This is my experience with collecting factory sealed games. I know that if you're against that type of behavior, you probably won't change your mind after watching my video. But at least I hope you can understand a little bit better why some people like myself do it. Hope you enjoyed, see you next time!